So, hello everyone, hello colleagues and dear friends. Welcome to our next meeting of the online research seminar gameplay studies research design. And the keynote talk for today will be given by Alеши Serada from I forgot what university are you now? The post a PhD student.
PhD student at the University of Vaasa, Finland. Vaasa is a very small. Vaasa is a town of 66,600 inhabitants and 5 universities.
Yeah, thank you. Sorry for the fact that I forgot it. Yeah, but in the last moments, actually, I recollected it. But yeah, so
it's okay.
Yeah, so the talk by Alesha will be dedicated to games and money and the issues that are raised when financial transactions are inserted into the game worlds and so on. So the title is Games and Money, What Do We Learn from Visual Economies? So Alesha, please, you have an hour for everything, for both talk itself and the Q&A section.
Okay, no problem. So this talk is a little bit of compilation, what I do for my studies and what I teach my students. Someone decided that they can give me students. I'm so sorry. I hope they will survive that. So, and games and money is kind of overarching topic of my research. I did free-to-play games first. I'm doing cryptocurrency-based games now, and I literally write a dissertation on NFTs, and I'm still poor. Yes, I'm that person who knows a lot about NFTs and is still poor, but at least I haven't lost any money. This is very important when you deal with gambling. So games and money, and I'd like to start with a little bit of a historical introduction, because as we just mentioned, money and games seem to those two things just don't fit together. And okay, this is the example when they actually do fit together, but we will come back to this. If you are from post-Soviet country, you probably recognize this unique situation when games and money meet, and it is all about skill, not about luck, allegedly. So if we go back to the history of digital games, namely the history of the game industry, from this side, like I collected all methods of monetization, not all of them, but like basic ones on this slide. You should read it from up downwards. So, and if you look at the history of the game industry, we can see that it's almost always, it begins with the free games. It begins with shareware. So first games that were made, first electronic games were always free. They were always free. They were shared. They were probably on public computers, or they were being shared about private computers later. So, and I say always because there is more than one game history, of course, around the world. Although the Game Studies Journal has a nice article that states that, you know, we at the center of the US-oriented Western market are still the center, and you are all just regional game studies. So I strongly disagree, and I prefer to see the histories of games as a multitude, and basically how much we know about histories of different game cultures is completely due to the fact whether this particular region has a very good and very honest game researcher. So we know quite a lot. We know something about, like from our own experience, we probably remember, like I literally remember how the post-Soviet game market emerged and how the industry emerged, like from the beginning, from the very beginning. But of course, we have great publications on the history of digital games in Poland, former Czechoslovakia, Finland, even Australia and New Zealand. less so about game histories of other regions, but this is, as I've said, 100% the problem of not having game researchers who are not having completely dedicated game researchers who do their work and study local game histories. So thanks to all these amazing studies, we know for sure that all video games have started as shareware, as free games, and probably they should stay like that. This is the question of the political economy that is still raised today, whether like all entertainment should be free, whether all games should be free, whether we should have private property at all. Is market crime? I feel like the Soviet, like these discussions from the Soviet Union are kind of making a comeback in the Western thought right now. However, so later circulation of the circulation of these games at this initial period is connected to circulation of so-called gaming capital and also of informational capital, also so-called informational capital, that is valuable information that circulated in dedicated networks of game funds and the demo scene, so-called demo scene. And they were not so much, there were financial transactions in most of the variants of the same story, of the same game history, but monetization came really, really much later. Unfortunately, I know next to nothing about the history of console games because I specialize in mobile games and a little bit of crypto games, which are almost all of them are web-based games. So know something about web games, but nothing about console games. However, in my own domain, mobile games, they transitioned to commercial models through a very interesting chain of decisions that included probably the most remarkable part of this mobile game history was the pre-installed games that were made by teams of developers in partnerships with mobile companies such as Nokia. So there was that company that designed that Snake game for Nokia and made history. And this was a very important part because basically game developers worked as teams for hire. The guys who later became Rovio worked as developers on a contract to develop pre-installed games for Nokia. So they were in direct partnership, and they did not have to do anything for their games to succeed. They just needed to know the right guy who would connect them to the right guy who would hire them to develop these games, and then they would receive salary and have a very comfortable life, unlike today's gaming economies when independent game developers are really struggling for really struggling for income. So this particular period is also connected. Like this is the Wild West. Developers themselves refer to this period as the Wild West of mobile development. This is mobile games before mobile platforms, before the App Store. And those are, for example, Java games and other types of gaming content, all kinds of this is the Wild West. But this period is very short. It is very poorly documented, but it is very important, at least from what I know about the post-Soviet situation, because this is when many to be successful developers of mobile games learned how to basically design such games. This is when they learned how to do games for mobile in principle. And then many of them proceeded in producing and designing games for the App Store at the later stage. So there would not be one without another. Probably, I know for sure that the same process happened in Finland, such as Rovio is the best example, and also probably Czechoslovakia, although this is not my domain, you can go and find for yourself. So this short and very eventful period was ended by the emergence of mobile platforms such as App Store in 2008. And this was the event that changed the landscape of gaming for the people who did not own a console. whose parents would not buy them a console. But however, from the business studies point of from the perspective of business studies, such platforms, such as the App Store, they enable direct sales channels between game developers and players, and even different third parties, such as hardware developers. So a thing emerged that is basically called platforms now, digital platforms. And the very important thing about platforms is that they are multi-sided. This is not Nintendo who decides like which games to put on their platform. This is the open market, open for both sides, where with a very competitive market. Sometimes a bit of a winner takes it all market, and this market immediately started experimenting with different models of monetization. You can see some of them here. There were the times that when freemium was a thing on mobile, when you would play a shorter version of the game for free and then pay for the rest. It did not really work for mobile. It works for services. It works for digital services such as Adobe Acrobat. You can use Acrobat for free, but then you should, like, if you want more, you can pay. And people pay sometimes because this is a utility. This is not a game. You're actually getting very specific utility value from purchasing the paid part of Adobe Acrobat. In games, however, what you receive is fun, and fun is a very difficult category. It is perceived. It is mostly it can be perceived like very individually. So you cannot really say that, okay, I will unlock that much fun by paying like $1. Besides, the gamers who came from emerging markets, they still remember when all games were free. So kind of losing quite a lot of customers here who still wanted free content. Also, we can observe probably the same story on PC gaming around the same time with Steam. So like PC gaming has been revitalized because Steam is also a multi-sided platform that allows developers and to sell directly to gamers. However, meanwhile, normal games have had a very long, a very boring history of being sold as commodities, as packaged product, one-time purchases, initially on some physical carriers, only compatible with one particular gaming platform. So this market looks rather uneventful and absolutely unimaginative in terms of monetizations well into the late 2000s. So if you need any explanation from me about why did they change? Why do we have microtransactions? Why do we have DRMs? Why we have the nasty freaking things such as NFTs? So this is the indirect consequence of opening up these gaming markets from both sides, and the competition and maturing of these multi-sided digital platforms that have produced a whole number of monetization techniques that worked for them in this atmosphere of very high competitiveness. This is what open market does. So you can proceed to capitalism critique from here. I don't do that because I can literally remember socialism and the games, and we would not have this level of production, to be honest, in the entertainment industry if there was no competition. And if we would only play the games designed according to the state ideology. So we will probably still be playing shareware games as I actually did in my early post-Soviet childhood. With all that, let's find out who has put money in games. Who has put money in games? Suddenly, it's players. So from what we know about humans, They have always had various forms of symbolic exchanges in all kinds of societies, capitalist, non-capitalist, whatever. You can learn a lot about crypto gaming by studying early ethnographic accounts of symbolic exchanges in traditional societies. Sometimes it just works the same way. Gift economy and the Kulu circle, when beads are exchanged, all that. So, however, today, when we speak about, before we even start speaking about real money, we should speak about the gaming capital. So these symbolic exchange still exists, and it started as this exchange of knowledge, this exchange of symbolic objects, and that signified certain competencies of being good at games. And this is the concept of gaming capital. This concept was introduced by Mia Consalvo in 2009, quite a while ago. So it explains this symbolic exchange of knowledge, how it creates the basis for this symbolic distinction in the gamer community, where some are better gamers, some are worse gamers, some are more dedicated gamers, and they possess the knowledge that no one else has. And Consalvo's study is a little bit old, so she actually relies on game magazines, because there were the times when you could only learn how to finish the game if you had a paper magazine with a walkthrough. Now you can find all kinds of walkthroughs on streaming services, but there used to be the times when game magazines would literally have articles that described how to beat the game. And those people who had this knowledge, they were considered, this was one of the symbols of being a true gamer. The concept that mutated into absolutely monstrous forms recently. So the book is called Cheating, but it is actually mostly about gaming capital, because this comes from me already. This comes from my dissertation. If you need to learn about the value of something, you should look at the situations when this value is when it is not there, when something is considered as not when the value is contested, for instance. So this is how gaming capital is contested. So this is where people start these debates on what is a true gamer and what does it mean to be a true gamer, and so on. So what is gaming capital? It is this type of symbolic capital that gamers acquire in gaming communities. It is very important. It's social capital. It's not acquired by sitting in your room and beating the game. And nobody will ever know about that. The easiest way to acquire some gaming capital, I think it was in Seinfeld. When you go to the arcades, and there's this arcade where you have beaten everyone, and your name is on the top of the list of best players. This is already quite a lot of gaming capital in this understanding. So before the internet and during the early internet, there were also social networks, gamers coming together, same as with shareware and demoscene community, and they would decide how they would value each other's experience and knowledge, and also, which is very important, sharing the same knowledge with other members of the community to show how knowledgeable they are, because this is how you create the distinction of being better, of being a truer gamer. So as you probably recognize, because you're all educated people, this theory relies more or less on Pierre Bourdieu and his studies of social and symbolic capital. So basically, if we apply this lens, hardcore gamers are just like French aristocrats, for better or for worse. And this also explains one of the most important questions that we have today: why buying progress in games and why spending money in games in general has always been seen as unfair, even though it is in the design. It is in the game has been designed so you pay for something. But if you pay for something, you don't you pretend that you like you trying to replace your gaming capital, that is knowledge how to beat this game, with your financial capital, just paying for progress. So, and this is exactly why such forms of cultural capital emerge. They emerge particular with the purpose to avoid, like, to create some form of capital that is different from financial capital and cannot be obtained with financial capital, like aristocracy, like the nobility. So gamers are the nobility. Again, there are some bad consequences to it. So, okay, I think, yes, of course, this is Consalvo's work is not the only application of Bourdieu's concepts to games and gaming capital and money that circulate within the industry. We're not speaking about money in games yet. We're speaking about the money that circulate in the industry and how these different forms of capital are being exchanged. Like, it's fun. You cannot buy gaming capital with financial capital, but you can obtain more cultural or financial capital if you already have a lot of gaming capital, because then, for example, you can become a streamer or a professional esports player. That depends. That still is a question of skill, a matter of skill, but you can still become a streamer. And if you have a lot of gaming capital and you become a streamer, you can convert your gaming capital into financial capital. This is a lovely scheme from this essay by Nichols. Unfortunately, it's kind of marginal, so I only have a very bad copy of it, but if you find it, the author maps the field of cultural production according to Bourdieu, and then the same space in relatively recent in the relatively recent stage of development of the gaming industry. So there are always areas where there is more cultural capital, such as avant-garde, bohemians. Again, I can imagine this in France. I cannot really imagine it on our material, but these cultural elites who have a lot of cultural capital, but they don't necessarily have a lot of financial capital. And their capital is very specific. And here we have indie games that also represent the best representation of the idea that games can be art, and their producers have more gaming capital. They may have more cultural capital because they what they do is considered kind of high art if you compare it to other games, even to some commercial games. So, and but they still don't have that financial capital. So, and of course, there are like adjacent fields such as game modders, but here I would already replace game modders with game streamers, because these are they also produce they produce, okay, what they produce is mostly videos, but they produce videos. They also have this gaming capital that is probably sometimes converted into financial capital, but they may be they are kind of excluded from the production field as such. They cannot really influence decisions made in this field of the actual cultural producers, such as big commercial companies and probably indie games. Well, they can try, but probably not. And here we will have this huge field of casual gamers. Today it would be probably mobile gamers. And the lowest strata here is the workers in the game industry, like low-level workers, such as people who assemble your consoles in China. And they probably, but I would kind of disagree, but this is one of the ways to look at it. So, and of course, yeah, wait, there are more, there is more to that. Okay, yes, that's all. I thought there will be a smooth transition from China to Chinese gold farmers, but I need to say more on the subject right now. So we have this specific form of gaming capital, and this gaming capital, the quantity of this capital is kind of your position, your position in the community depends on how much gaming capital you have, and probably you are just like someone who wants to be perceived as a cultured person, but does not have, for instance, high education or something else. Or in the case of French nobility, you don't have this nobility certificate, and then you basically, what you do is you buy your fake nobility certificate, you pay for progress, and there are always such people, and there have always been such gamers, and it can be like a completely voluntary thing, but it might be also kind of an attempt to meet the requirements to be the part of those cool gamers who are level 2000, I don't know, in Happy Farm. So when there are buyers, okay, of course, it would be rather World of Warcraft, but you get the point. So when there are buyers, there are, of course, sellers. And if someone wants to buy in-game progress, then others will sell it, because money matters. Money still matters in the real world. And the demand will be met, and it will be met probably at the cost of, so to say, sacrificing one's own identity as a gamer, because players who play for money, who upgrade characters to sell them to other players, or who do other types of in-game labor, they lose their gamer identity. They become these faceless Chinese gold farmers. And this is a very popular term, but I should already start from the beginning and say that it is not a good way to address the problem. It is, firstly, it's kind of racist. Let's start with that. Then we don't use these figures of Chinese gold farmers to criticize the game industry or game economies, but we actually don't know anything about them, because there are just anecdotal accounts online. There have been no good studies of Chinese gold farming, and for the reason that those people do not really like to share their experiences, and they're also living people, and they do it not because they are they are still humans, and they do it for money, which means they need the money, which means that they're probably worse off than us, for instance. But it may not be true. We don't know. And the problem is exactly that we don't know. There is a very nice article by Bonnie Nardi and someone else, I think Co, or not Co. Okay, Bonnie Nardi, the first author of this article, and the article asks, how do we know what we know about Chinese gold farmers? And it appears that there is a lot of orientalization and othering going on here. Because these accounts are mostly based on anecdotal evidence, and almost always take the viewpoint of the gamers who are not those Chinese gold farmers. And if you look at various game studies of gaming communities, there are always this mechanism of othering someone. For instance, in my particular topic, when I did a little research on free-to-play games, there was the children. The children always spoil the game, even though if you look at the actual statistics, there was no children, no invasion of underage players to speak about. It is mostly straw people who spoil the game. So, okay, this brings us, and what gold farmer, what these allegedly Chinese gold farmers do? They do the grinding. And this is actually in a way, game designers afford such behavior, because game designers have designed game worlds that require grinding. Here I refer to grinding as to repetitive activities in the game that are extrinsically motivated, not intrinsically, which means you do it to get a reward and not for fun. It's a thin line, because, for instance, some games have very repetitive activities, that don't require much skill, but still players enjoy doing them because, for instance, they enjoy the game atmosphere, or maybe just, let's be honest, people like to see how numbers go up. And although, yes, this tendency can be easily exploited, but people tend to have this liking for seeing progress, at least feeling that some progress that takes place, even if they do nothing for it. However, this is not grinding. Grinding is particularly performing repetitive, unfun activities to get some benefits in the game that are not in your initial, so to say, setup of the game. These elements of design appeared in first online multiplayer role-playing games, and then they kind of, as long as there was grinding, there would be people who would grind and sell, because there always been demand, and they've always been demand, and there had to be some supply. So this reproduces the structure of oppression similar to what we see in the real world. Okay, and again, yes, I remembered what was the connection between these two slides. So we don't know much about Chinese gold farmers because we don't have their own accounts. We don't know how do they do that. We don't have ethnography of Chinese gold farmers. We don't have auto ethnographies, which would be even more important. We don't have some phenomenological approach to gold farming. We may have phenomenological approach to being in a game that requires a lot of repetitive tasks, but these would be like very meditative experiences and nothing would be wrong about them in terms of fun. However, we don't have the first-person account for gold farming, but we have first-person accounts for people just generally be like playing massively multiplayer role-playing games and making money in them. This is one of the first auto ethnographies in games, and it's called Play Money or How I Quit My Day Job and Made Millions Trading Virtual Loot. So this is not about like this book is. It remains very contemporary. It remains very up to date because now we have this message of pay to earn again. However, this is mostly the tale of an exploit, the tale of exploiting the game system, so the player can actually make a lot of armor and sell it on eBay. So these were the times where virtual worlds were like only at the early stage of their development. Such exploits have been found and exploited, and the first players were the first to recognize how to make money in games. At that time, it did not come from the developers. Developers had no idea. Developers just required the subscription payment, which is kind of it's reasonable. It's still used in some forms. It became less popular when we got all these crazy free-to-play monetization style games. But yeah, subscription, they would, but of course, when you charge only a subscription, then you, on the good side, you always have this stable source of revenue. You know how many subscribers you have, and you know that they all have paid $7 or $30 a month. But also you need to make sure that they're staying in the game, which is another story. So, but then you have exploits like this when you realize that people are not only ready to buy, not only ready to make money, they are also ready to pay for such stuff. And this is why when the new open gaming platforms emerged soon afterwards, or even at the same time, they basically borrowed their monetization techniques from what was already happening in multiplayer virtual worlds. They just made it legal. Now you buy progress directly from the developer, not from some shady Chinese gold farmer who maybe even like you don't even know what you get, which is not covered by any customer protection. But however, there's also one key difference. In these multiplayer worlds with peer-to-peer markets, or at least with the ability, some ability to create some form of peer-to-peer market, even if it's outside of the game, such as on eBay. So when there are peer-to-peer markets, the price is like they work more or less according to the like classical economical concepts, supply and demand, and then they crash, and they more or less function as real-world economies, but on steroids. And the price is determined by demand and supply. Of course, there are many ways to manipulate the price of a digital good, but this is still kind of the process that happens by itself. But in free-to-play games, economies are strictly regulated and planned. And there is controlled inflation, and there is like the pricing is decided upon by the developers. Of course, when the price changes, the gaming community might react in different ways, so it has to be very careful. But however, the prices are regulated and the economies are planned, just like in the Soviet economy. Let it rest in peace. It's the planned economy as opposed to open market. Yeah. But however, the question is why free-to-play games do not fall apart like the Soviet Union did. It's actually, if you have your ideas, you may tell them now. So why free-to-play economies still kind of, they still work better. They're more effective than peer-to-peer economies, even though they're based on the same principles. Why does this happen? Okay, I'll say my answer. Yeah.
So it's a question to all of us, as I understood, right?
If you want to participate, yes.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, no one wants to participate, so I will tell you. The reason is that unlike the Soviet Union and its economists, economists who make free-to-play games have better computers, of course. All modern game economies are heavily analytic driven. They rely on analytics, on big data. Yes, it is big, and it is used to optimize key performance indicators such as the lifetime value of a player, the number of active players, their churn and retention rates. The problem with this is that now you can measure fun, but fun is instrumentalized through such metrics as churn and retention. So if players leave, then the game is not fun. If players stay or come back, then the game is probably fun enough. So these two, like fun and staying in the game, are not exactly the same thing, although they're directly correlated. Yes. After all critique that all of you have, or not all of you, most of people have about free-to-play games, most of their players still say that they enjoy them and they enjoy paying money in them. I've seen quite a lot of research. Some came from the industry, some came from the independent, like from university researchers, from academic researchers, and yeah, more or less, most players of free-to-play games like free-to-play games, because if they don't like this free-to-play game, they would just not play it. It's a game, it's voluntary. It's in the definition of the game, it is voluntary. So players game developers and publishers, even more publishers than developers, because publishers are also the game economists. So publishers of free-to-play games have at least like they have harnessed this power of analytics to keep players happy just enough to bring them profit, because if they don't, there will be no, like, the game will be over for everyone. So Yes, free-to-play games probably where I'll be trying to be quick. I don't even know if I can be quick at this point. So new monetization models and new business models. And the most important thing is starting. When you start, you don't need money at all. And these allowed millions of new players to enter this landscape with all its problems. Games be like the fact that a free-to-play game is at least partially free is decisive for all people who don't have much money. And this is also very noticeable on markets such as post-Soviet markets, where people are used to getting everything for free. And of course, they pay much less, even in free-to-play games, than they have, for instance, than players do in the United States, for example. But if you provide them just enough fun and adjust the prices so they would be spend this money and be happy, you can have you can make it work. And there are many Russian free-to-play game developers who made it work on the post-Soviet territories. I think my favorite example here is the Austin video from Zemfira. This is a huge cultural event from many points. And the most important in it is that Playrix basically sponsored a completely indie short video film. It is amazing. So they lended the immense resources to Zemfira, who just made the video that she wanted to make. And it is absolutely disturbing and absolutely beautiful, and it is modern art. And all this happened because Playrix is quite a successful company. So, and also here we need to mention that World of Tanks and League of Legends are also free to play. I've been very surprised with the current developments of World of Tanks, because I remember it when it was a game about really a PvP battle with realistic tanks, and now it is basically Candy Crush but with tanks. I know a dedicated player, and we discussed that once, and I was going to hear about the historical accuracy of armor, because that was all the juice 10 to 15, okay, 15 years, no, it's younger than, okay, 10 years ago. And then he's starting to tell me about all these free-to-play monetization tricks, many of them that are in this game now. And I'm like, no, get off my turf, World of Tanks. This is what we did when we did match 3 games. Why? So, however, this is also free to play, and recently they have developed into more totally Candy Crush Saga free to play style. Of course, we need to mention that most players never pay, and of course, we need to mention that there are when free to play games, they started. They did not start here. They started in China, South Korea, and other countries that are typically kind of the blind spot in the global game histories. So they were there for a while already. However, when this monetization model and this business model has been adopted in the West, then there were quite a lot of discussions on how to make this model ethical, because, of course, you can use any tools and for good as well as for evil. And this is the case when there have been quite a lot of interesting decisions at the beginning, and initially quite a lot of research that was very much focused on making fair and enjoyable free-to-play games, such as, you see, this is like the main principle that is the main principle why these games work. They are fun, but there is always something else that the player can buy. I think this also worked with Fortnite. I don't play Fortnite, but everyone who researched Fortnite has told me that this also works. This is how it works in Fortnite. But also this does not mean that it would work everywhere else. So this is like the Fortnite good free-to-play agenda here, balance in all things. So for they can have as much, like they can feel very happy in the game and don't pay anything, but still there is some desire, some wish that can be fulfilled by spending money in the game. And there are two ways to make this work in economic terms. It is to firstly bring in as many players as possible. This is why most free-to-play games are very, very mass appeal. Their goal is to have at least 50, I think 50,000 of players. You need 50. When I was in the industry, it took probably 20 to 50,000 active players to probably active weekly or monthly players. It does not matter that much. It depends on the genre, but at least like 50,000 active players for a free-to-play game to make it work, probably to return the money if the game is very fun and the purchases are very, very desirable. So this is to maximize. So the first thing to do is to maximize scale, and then to offer to those who want to pay, to offer them exactly what they want for their money. Of course, when this scaled up and went through a number of iterations, we received free-to-play games that mostly cater to their hardcore players. So there are hardcore players who spend most time in the game and they pay for gaming experience, and they're also the most powerful in any form of competitive play. This is how Clash of Clans kind of spiraled. And of course, this led to only like to separating players into separate categories, and to selecting one category that is called whales, and to cater to this category in particular. So the game must be fun for whales because whales pay money, and in the worst case scenario, all other players are just the cannon fodder for the whales. This is also this is where games like Clash of Clans tend to slide, but also Clash of Clans is one of the oldest successful games, and when a free-to-play game is that old, it's there's a lot of things going on in that. So of course, you probably
sorry, I just wanted to say that you've been talking for almost 1 hour right now. So just remember that you had 1 hour, including questions and answers. So just
okay.
remind you. Well, today we have just one additional speaker, so you may talk longer. I just wanted to remind you to look at the clock, and so.
Okay. Yes. Thank you. I've been warned.
Yeah.
Well, I will wrap up then. I think I'm already at this part of my presentation when I can just show slide and say 2 words, like one sentence. So of course, new more current research of free-to-play games and their players suggest that they have this have this democratizing potential because they simply provide more fun experience to more people. So in these terms, they are good actually, because more people can play at least sometimes fun games for free. And of course, that free-to-play games are not a Western invention. They were more or less borrowed from South Korean, the way South Korean games has worked for a while already, because of the level of digitalization. If we look back, so we have this level of digitalization, and we have digital platforms that sell stuff and create a very competitive environment. And these also, like the same scheme has worked in South Korea a little earlier than everywhere else. Also problems with console gaming in South Korea, I guess. So for this reason, they already had like their free-to-play culture has already kind of boomed and went somewhere else. But yeah. And Western virtual worlds, of course, some of them still exist. And this is the reading that you need if you want to study game economies, but it's Edward Castronova, but don't take everything that he says too literally, because he is actually a libertarian. He holds this opinion that the market will decide, and we just had like a handful of examples where the market has decided to make some people rich and some people poor. Most digital economies are based on artificial scarcity. This is actually, Edward Castronova was the first game economist who actually has a degree in economy. So he came with this concept of artificial scarcity, which is more or less how pricing, like one of the big factors in pricing. And the problem with this concept is that Castronova, like, he openly suggests that players cooperate to build a better online community, but then he directly speaks of competition, and you can't have both. I mean, you can have, but there will always be some kind of balance. And the competitive players, if you have people in the game who are here to win or for money, and or even better, to win and or for money, this is when we get the situation where like pay to win becomes normalized. And this is what happened with the crypto games and pay to earn, play to earn, pay to earn. But yes, it's pay to earn, because you first need to buy a shitload of crypto, and then you can spend it in the game and maybe get some back, or maybe lose everything. Or you can join a scholarship, which is basically the most exploitative form of a job contract. So you play the game, you earn some crypto by doing so, but the game is very expensive. You need several hundreds of euros just to start, and so there is someone who owns these game cards. This is basically a card game, but with axolotls. So you have these axolotl cards. Someone invests like $1,000 in them and then rents them to other players under these conditions that are basically job contracts. So those players play and grind and make some money. And I know it may seem like fun to some of you, like you make money by doing something that is fun, but you always need to understand that this thing was fun to you precisely before it was not work before. So it does not work, sorry. Just when we look at current publications on Axie Infinity, it is very clear that people cash in, make some money, make just enough money, as much, like, it's impossible to make a lot of money in touch games, because this value does not come from nowhere. It comes from other forms of crypto trading and so on. So they made just enough money to cover their expenses, but maybe they make some living wage for some time. Then it becomes extremely dull, because there are absolutely, like, there are different motivations. It's intrinsic motivation when you play a game for fun, and it's extrinsic motivation. It's the worst form of extrinsic motivation, when you do something because you are told to, and you will be rewarded if you do it, and you will be fined if you don't do it. So it's like the opposite scale of motivation. Playing for fun is on one end of this scale, and playing games like Axie Infinity is directly at the other end of this scale. Argue with me. And okay, also Castronova said, like, from the Castronova's theory, this follows. He has this formula of fun, which I don't agree with, but we don't really have time, so we can just speak about it any other time. And there is, okay, I wanted to finish it with gambling, and how people can put gambling in literally any activity and then make it like a money earning activity and then promote it as play to earn. But I'll just stop and say, please never promote gambling as a form of play to earn. Russian literature has enough materials on that. I think I will finish with that. And thank you again. I could speak more, and yes, I was prepared to speak for 4 hours, and I'm sorry.
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much, Alesha. That was an extremely interesting talk, really. And yeah, so sorry for interrupting you in the end of your talk, because I felt pity because when I did it, because when I was doing it, because I really felt that this talk was really interesting to me as well. And so I need to ask everybody if there are some questions from you to Alesha. Yeah, Ksenia is the first one.
Yes, hello. Sorry, today I will be voice without a face. Actually, I have 2 questions. The first is probably shorter. So, in my opinion, games after the arcade cabinets and before free-to-play were designed to engage players' progression. But free-to-play games are designed to encourage players to spend more. And so don't we lose an important part of gaming because of it? It's this progression, this beating the obstacles, it doesn't exist in the free-to-play games to that extent. Because now you can buy your progression, and even though you can move forward without any money investment, the game is designed that it will be hard, and not like a hardcore hard, but a boring hard. So I was interested in your opinion on this topic. Don't you think that games really lose an important part of gaming itself?
Okay, so you see these 2 types of, those games that you mentioned first, games that are commodities that are bought in a packaged form. So the to-be gamer buys this game and probably based on the opinions of his or her friends in the gaming community, based on gaming magazines. I'm speaking about a very ancient model of game promotion here. However, this is the packaged product, and it is supposed to be that the player and the buyer expects this product to be to be fun to a certain degree, and if it's not fun, then probably this product will not become popular and it will not be commercially successful. So there has to be just enough fun in there, so people would recommend the game to each other, and gaming magazines would recommend this game to players. And but it's the most important thing is that this price is paid upfront. And with free-to-play games, we have the situation when the price of the game is, so to say, stretched across all this lifetime of the player. I'm not sure, we have lost so many good things that I have no regrets for anything now. We are entering a much worse era now. The problem is that we have there were different modes of production and different modes of consumption back then and now. So now game designers design for the people who are very occupied with work. They may play at the same time, they may play at their workplace. They may play while sitting on a bus going from one city to another. So now game designers of those free-to-play games, they design just this amount of fun and this amount of challenge for the players who are constantly distracted, who are not really ready to pay any upfront fee, as it happened with the games that were sold as commodities. They're probably not that invested into gaming, press, and everything. Those are just people who play casually. The market for packaged games, it still remains. And I do really hope that the reaction of gamers on more microtransactions and DRMs and of course NFTs, I hope that this is a very healthy reaction that will more or less but probably not. It probably won't help because we see even more consolidation among game producers now. So if gamers can change it and go back to the games that are still valuable, and there is this feeling of progress, of achievement, we can still go back there. Probably indie gaming is always this new blood that gives us our challenges back. But the mode of production and the financial the business models that we have, if all big game publishers consolidate, then they will tell us what to play, and it will be not up to us to influence this choice. So this is what I regret. This is what I regret. Yes.
Okay, thank you. Can I ask another question?
Yes.
Okay, so actually it was a part of my presentation, but since you brought it up, I really would like to ask this. Huizing, who explained the games as the voluntary participation. And for example—
Not only him, yes.
Yes, exactly. And
it's in all definitions of games. We just had this lesson on definitions of games. It's everywhere.
Yes, exactly. And so cybersportsmen or e-sportsmen, as they say it's in English, whose income is dependent on the on how good they play and on what they and I mean their income is dependent on what do they play, and they play in the first place. So if they don't play, they don't have an income. So this can be called a voluntary participation. It's any part of for at least some part of it. So if we are talking about the play to earn games, which is presented as the form of earning, so can we still call this a game in the first place? Because since it's also can be not voluntary participation, because we play to earn and not to play.
Oh, okay, yes. See, this is how you criticize basically the same thing when you use more game studies, because I used examples and approaches that are mostly used in marketing, because that's what I do. And yes, if you criticize free-to-play games from this point of view, then yes, the free-to-play, I'm sorry, play-to-earn games. However, again, sportsmen are and e-sportsmen are a very good example, because if you take another book that you most certainly know, which is Roger Callois, Man, Play and Games, he goes he analyzes this example on the example of like physical sportsmen, people who are engaged in physical sports, because in his scheme, sports are still games. They still are ludus or paideia. They may have different degrees of different, of agon or e-links or whatever. So, and yes, we may see a professionalization of sports. It will give us a very good perspective. We can also connect it to the modes of production and to the modes of like the whole concept of leisure, for instance. But however, if we speak about sportsmen, I'm lucky to have at least some knowledge on the subject, because I participated in a small project that interviewed professional esports players, and they always discussed this, not always, but they were happy to speak about it. Like, what is the difference between like playing for money and playing for fun? And to those of them who are like professionals in their job, it is actually like, it is very balanced. They play for money, and they train because they need to play really well to earn money, and this is an important part of their lives. This is their work. So work is training for them, and work is watching other players' streams, for example. However, they still always have this element of fun, and they always say, on the one hand, they always kind of counterpose professionalism and fun, but then they always mention that they also play games for fun, that they started playing games for fun, and also they say that you can't really be in this business if you're not having fun. There are some players or teams who do, but these like to them it's like not like they have less gamer capital in their eyes if the team is just like, you know, doing it for the money and not demonstrating this dedication and engagement into games. Yes, I guess that's the answer. And yes, it's like voluntary activity for like there will always be negotiation. Yes, and let me think about. You see, when we may go to this Castronova's conceptualization, which I don't really agree with, but this is what Edward Castronova says, the most cited person who studies gay economies. So this is a hypothetical situation in a virtual world that he describes. So he suggests that free to play to earn is possible, and people should be paid if they perform activities in the game that are not fun. This kind of makes sense, but it does not take into account that, like, as soon as you allow it, the amount of people who are here for the money will like increase and flood and destroy the gaming experience for everybody else who are here to enjoy and themselves and have fun. So this is one way, and yet another way to look at it. So it's voluntary as long as it's fun, and it's kind of an obligation when it's paid, but also in the case of sports, it's very like there's like mental maturity and balance, and there is always an element of fun to that. And this element of fun can come from competition, but it can come from just enjoying games. So like first they would watch streams of other esports players and it is work, and then they would like switch to streams of the games that they don't play for money to have fun. That's it.
But actually, it's what you mentioned, that they play and have fun. Yes, I agree, but sportsmen, they can't just stop playing because they don't feel like it, or they don't want to play at all, like for a month or two, because their money is dependent on that. So isn't it not so much voluntary activity?
Well, there are several ways. Like there are many jobs that you can do without and like there are many jobs that you can do and not do competitive gaming, and like yeah, like they are not like they can just become a manager or a PR manager or a streamer if this particular job is not for them, because we have the open job market, and it's this market has its problems, but you can find like again, I'm speaking from the side of someone who like tried to find out how it happens. But yeah, you can like if competitive play is not for you, like 40 hours a week of playing Dota 2 is not for you, then you can just become like a streamer or a manager, and there is always demand for such people in the industry because they know their stuff, they know gaming, and if they can do at least something apart from play, like if they can basically speak, if they can basically communicate to other people, then they easily find any other job that requires like in the communication or in marketing or in whatever. Of course, it's worse if they can't really speak to other people. But yes, then they probably enjoy games just too much, not to, so they won't want another job.
Okay, thanks for your opinion.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Yeah, okay. So does anybody else have questions to Alesha or not? If not, then I just actually wanted to ask a question. You, in the very beginning, you were talking about this additional field of cultural capital, of the gaming capital that gamers are earning by we say, earning their craft, their skills and showing their skills, showing their capabilities, capacities in gaming. Yeah, and the idea was that gamers are usually resisting the possibility to buy this capital, and more precisely to transform this form of financial capital into this gaming capital. Yeah. So, and I just wanted to ask you, maybe you studied this question as well, as a cultural anthropologist. I would say, what is it about gaming? What is it about gaming cultures that it is so important for people to make this additional field of cultural capital, where the usual dividing of resources, of capital, of financial capital is, so to say, suspended, and where it is stopped, where in this culture, in this field of the cultural capital, where we just cannot buy something for money, and where we're fighting only in terms of our merits, in terms of our nobility, and so on. So it was more just a maybe more philosophical question and so on, but just what is your opinion about it?
Yeah, I guess I'm coming to, I would approach this question from more like sociological point of view, because this is more or less answered in this book of Mia Consalvo, and even more probably with this analysis of Nichols, because gamers needed to create this particular kind of capital because their achievements were not recognized as cultural capital in the society. Games were the lowest form of entertainment. This culture of true gamers comes from the times when the stereotype about basement dwellers was still very much alive, and it was like games were not considered art or a valuable object of study or even a worthy activity. These were the times before the Game Studies magazine. So gamers were not accepted in the society, or at least they were stereotypes about gamers, and games were for kids, games were for some social delinquents, some social deviants. And this is how the community reacted. They needed to feel worthy, and then these gaming capital emerged. Of course, they did not realize that it was like a gaming capital, a form of cultural capital, but in fact, they felt the need precisely because what they did, what they loved, and they were very good at it, and they were very knowledgeable about games. They were very, they not just played them so well, they knew a lot about games, so much more than an average person would know. And this knowledge was not recognized as social capital in society at large. So this is why these became so important to them. And then it kind of became the reason for like distinction, who is a better gamer, which is more or less, but I guess I'm unfortunately not really philosophically educated, but yeah, I would say that this is, if in psychological terms, probably, which I don't know psychology, but I just a little bit better at it than in philosophy, maybe. It was this need for self-actualization. This is the need for self-actualization, which was suppressed by the society, who saw games as the lowest form of entertainment. That's my answer.
Okay, thank you. And how do you think, does it, I think you did not say directly in your presentation, but do I understand it correctly that now when those stereotypes are highly doubted, it becomes more normal to buy it, and that's why these forms of trading and so on are so spread, so to say.
I haven't thought about that, but now when you say it, I see it as very, very likely, because when gaming communities were smaller, people would just like not buy stuff in games, because if you go, for instance, I've seen an ethnographic study of trolls, of course, trolls, and they would like one of the very common topics to troll other people is to shame them for paying for making in-game purchases. So this still lives on. So yeah, it may be that if now gaming is normalized, but also games can be art, games can tell amazing stories. This part of the culture is also normalized, but also kind of spending in games is also normalized to a larger extent. And this may be why all these quite exploitative business models are even they even exist, because I mean, I remember when World of Tanks was kind of when it was not like Candy Crush Saga, because no one would buy all this stuff, because it was a community of hardcore players and they would just not buy this stuff. And now this game caters to a probably younger and a very different audience that is fine buying, I don't know, battle passes and unlocking stuff and all these advent calendars for Christmas with Arnold Schwarzenegger. So probably, yes, it's also the new way of consumption. And if you ask all these people, they will probably tell you that they absolutely enjoy spending money in the game. And probably they will be a little bit ashamed of that, because we are still in the same cultural space. But if you ask them face to face, they would probably say, yeah, I spent 200 euros on tanks this year and I loved it. At least that's what I heard. That's true.
Great, thank you, Alesha. So it's now time for another talk by Ksenia Zhernova, who also wanted to give small comments to this talk. The comment was the title of this small talk was is meant to be Brave New Metaverse, the world of play to earn. So Ksenia, if you want to, I remember you have had some problems with health. Are you okay now? Do you want to?
Yes. I would like to join. I'm just joining in from my PC to have a presentation. Just a second, and please add me to this meeting.
Yeah, I will ask Dmitry to do it.
I have a screen that I'm joining. Yes. So just a second. Strange, I have meeting disconnected message. Yeah, probably that's all right. So I'm sharing the screen now. I'm sorry, just a second. Yes, so I hope that my screen is seen.
No, no, actually.
No? Strange. I'm sorry, just another second. I'll try again. Do you have a screen now?
No, you may send it to me, for example.
Okay, okay, yes, sorry. Can I send you to Telegram?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, just a second. I sent it to your Telegram account.
Can you see it?
Oh, yes, thank you. I'm sorry for such a delay.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, we can skip to the next slide. So I will be short in my talk. I try to. So let's start with the basics. I guess that by now everyone, or at least mostly everyone, is already heard about the NFTs and the metaverses. So just to be short, the NFTs, or non-fungible tokens, can be a part of a metaverse. And what is a metaverse? Metaverse in a huge scale can be bigger than the game metaverse. For example, the metaverse of Facebook Corporation, who recently changed its brand name on Meta, is promised to be way bigger in the scale than I will describe it here, but we look only on game metaverses in their current form. So in the game metaverse in its current form can have a few games. So in the game, all the objects like avatars, resources, weapons, tools, and everything in the world is an object. And when we do this object as an NFT, we can use this NFT in different game. Like, for example, in this slide, you can see that in the first game, we can use the sword as a weapon to kill someone. In the second game, we can use this same NFT that we have of the sword as a tool. We can dig with it. And for example, in the third game, we can use this sword as a spoon to stir something. So we have this same NFT of our sword. We own it. We own it outside the game, outside the metaverse as well. We own it as a token on the blockchain. So we can use this in a different game within this metaverse. It's a very short description of what NFTs is in the metaverses. Let's skip to another slide, please. It's the example of the tokenomics of play-to-earn games. This game is existing. It's Alien Worlds. It has pretty huge tokenomics and plans to develop it further. As you can see, this explains the interactions between the player, the game's token, and the game's NFTs. It's pretty big to explain, so I would put it shorter. For example, we have the game. The game has a token, and the game has an NFT. So we as a player, we are promised to earn in the game, and this sounds actually pretty good, right? But let's look how it's actually is. Do we really can earn here? So the game has a token and an NFT, and in the end, what we have is the token that we can buy or sell on the exchange. Its price is volatile, like the whole crypto itself. We have an NFTs, and they are often needed to play the game, to play the play-to-earn game. And these NFTs, they can be avatars, tools, weapons, or anything that the game designers want this to be. So these NFTs, we can sell them on the market for the real crypto or for the game's token. This token of the game is often needed in the game to make a progression, to buy something important, to go further, or it can be used for staking. So you can throw this token inside the game and have some crypto or this token as well, like drop into your in-game wallet. So this is the way to earn something with this token, is to sell it on the exchange if you bought it like more cheaper, or to stake and earn some goods inside the game. This NFT is another story. First of all, you need to buy them mostly because they cost for the developer some money to mint them, to put them on the blockchain. So you have to buy these NFTs. Sometimes it can be earned in the game, but it's very hard, and you basically need to make some investments first, or you can like win them in the games community, but it's not so often. So mostly you need to buy NFT, then you can upgrade this NFT. For example, it's your gameplay character. You can upgrade it and sell it inside the game market. So you can sell it more higher on the higher price than you bought it. So this way you also can earn. So we can earn something in play-to-earn games, but firstly, we most of all need to invest something at first, wait for our investment to like, so we don't go into minus with our investment, so we can like sell what we bought on more higher prices. And it's possible if you step into the project in the game when the game just released, because if you try to play and earn in the game, but is for at least like half of a year or a year on the market, it's pretty hard to earn something, because many of this earning is based on the leaderboard. So you have to be on the top of the leaderboard, and it's hard to get on the top of it because you need to play like many hours just to get to some point of the top of this leaderboard. So theoretically you can earn, but it's hard. Let's go to the next slide, please. It's the example of play-to-earn games, most of the famous probably. I won't go in details of their tokenomics. I just say that decentralized game is basically a sandbox game where you can buy a part of a land, and on this land you can build everything that you want. You can make some great I don't know experience. You can make games, and other players can experience these games, and you can also put the price on the entrance, like an entrance fee, so you can earn something from this. Also in Decentraland and mostly in Sandbox, the similar game, you can build your own assets. You can build assets and put them on the in-game market, so other players could buy it and use in their own lands. So it's the way to earn this, to earn something in such games. We have Axie Infinity. This game is different from the lands. You can upgrade your heroes, your axes. You can breed them and create another different types of your axes, your heroes with which you can play. So basically, you need to create stronger characters to beat other players. And with this breeding opportunity, you can create various heroes and put them on the market. So the market of this Axie Infinity game is pretty big, and this is the way to earn something in this game is to sell it on the market. But first of all, to participate in this game, you have to buy your own access, so as an NFTs, so you can upgrade them and breed them. We have Alien Worlds. It's the game which Tokenomics we looked on. It's basically an MMO step-by-step strategy with the very strong lore and story. But it's also had the same opportunity to earn as many games. You have to make some investments to buy some NFTs. So these NFTs can help you mine some tokens inside the game. So basically, you have to invest, and then you can earn. And another example which I wanted to say is the Chains Arena, which I played pretty much to try to earn there. Spoiler, I didn't earn anything, but I spent many hours there. It could be easy to earn on the early stages of this project with a little investment. So by now I would have some money, but I didn't join the game in the beginning. So it was hard to earn something because, as I said, you have to be on the top of the leaderboard to earn something, and it's really hard because the players are stronger than me, and I couldn't beat them in PvP. Also, I could mine tokens in the game, but I have to buy some tools to do that. So it's always investment. Let's go to another slide, please. I try to be as short as I can. It's I would like to say about the differences between free-to-play and play-to-earn games, but I will be short here. Basically, it's what we see on the slide. In free-to-play games, we have in-game items. These items, like weapons or anything, you can upgrade them and sell them on blackish market, not official market of the game. So you can, for example, sell something that you have upgraded to pretty good level, and another player could buy it from you. In play-to-earn games, we have basically the similar thing, but it's just an official market. So you can upgrade your NFTs and sell them in official markets, and the player will buy this in official markets, and they know what they buy. There will be some fee to the game developers, like their revenue, which will be also distributed for in-game activities for the team as a profit to the team and to further development of the game. Also, we have money in the game. In a free-to-play game, we have the in-game money, which we can buy for the real money and use this in-game money to buy something useful things in the games or to buy a progress or something like that. In play-to-earn games, we have a crypto token. This token can be bought and sold on exchanges. So this brings the token, that this in-game currency outside the game in the real world where it becomes volatile and unpredictable. So the main the main differences of the economics of the free-to-play and play-to-earn games is that play-to-earn game economy is becomes like an open market. So the developers have to think through all these possibilities of the token price going higher or lower, how they will provide the price to stay on the needed level and all these things. So they basically have to think how to control this open market. Let's go to the next slide, please. So the crypto gaming has some problems as well as the crypto, because crypto in cryptocurrency in some countries is not welcomed because countries and governments are starting to bring the questions of the regulations of the crypto. So they're trying to implement AML, anti-money laundering policy, and in the crypto. So the crypto games aren't the exception. They also have brought the attention from the law to them. For example, SEC and the United States Securities and Exchange Commission is interested in Axie Infinity, and SEC is right now checking the Axie. Also, the Central Bank of the Philippines is also interested in the Axie Infinity games, because Philippine people are probably the most players of the Axie Infinity. For example, the Decentraland game is registered and has jurisdictions in the Panama. Panama is one of the most loyal to cryptocurrency country, and they also trying to make a law about the legalization of crypto. So the Decentraland is choosing the Panama because the Panama is loyal to the crypto. For example, we have a fun actual example because Central Bank of Russia just recently called the Mobox metaverse Ponzi scheme. And since the crypto is, oh yes, I see I have less time. So I will try to be short. So crypto games have some problems with law because the government wants to put taxes everywhere, and of course they want to put taxes on crypto and crypto gaming. They just don't know how to do this, so they try to regulate this crypto and crypto gaming. Next slide, please. This I will be very, very short. It's just the list of the major game companies who look into the crypto and crypto gaming. I just shortly say that Ubisoft has recently released their NFT market, and they are looking forward to crypto gaming, and this NFT market is operating already. Square Enix has recently, just on the 1st of January, announced that they are looking forward to add NFTs and crypto gaming to their games. Some major Japanese companies, Atari, Bandai Namco, Capcom, and Konami, recently released their nostalgic NFT tokens. They are non-utility. It means that they can be used anywhere, at least for now. They just like art pieces, and there are no updates for them. Sega did the same, but they also said that they are tracking players' opinion to see if the players don't like the NFTs. They will drop their plans to add NFTs in their games. Electronic Arts approved these NFTs and crypto gaming, and probably they will jump in that field because they like to monetize everything, and probably they won't. They will add crypto gaming in their games. Valve is against the crypto on their market, on the Steam, so they banned every crypto game from the Steam, while Epic Games after that approved all the crypto games and welcomed crypto games on their market. And the company that developed the Stalker, the next game of the Stalker, GSG Game World, they canceled their plans on NFTs because the players, the fans were against all this NFT and crypto. So this company has dropped all the plans on the NFTs. And the final slide, please. So basically what I'm saying is I think that when you play a game and you play the game to play the game and not to earn, you will get the game experience because you are here to play and not to make money. And when you are playing the game to earn something, this game becomes a financial tool for you, and probably this stops being the game, at least to that extent. So when you look at the game and you thinking about how to earn there, you don't play to enjoy this experience. You think about what you will need to do to earn here more. But probably it's a wrong approach, and I would like to be proved wrong, but maybe this play to earning, maybe these NFTs will be another gaming crisis. I don't know, but players are pretty negative about that. Or maybe this new technology will give the games something new and something awesome, and the games, as they always were on the front line, so the technologies, they can grab this new technology and evolve themselves with this and become even better. I don't know. I would like to see how this all develops, and I hope that it will be good. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much. Yeah. We almost ran out of time, but maybe somebody has some questions to Ksenia, and maybe we could have some short discussion for 5 or 10 minutes. No, not now. Okay, so then I just would love to ask a question. I also think that these practices of play to earn NFTs and so on maybe somehow are changing the gaming culture, the established gaming culture, in terms of mixing voluntary useless activity with economic practices and so on. So, but I'm not sure whether it is whether it shatters the play itself, the activity of play itself, more than the anthropological or philosophical notions of play produced by Huizinga or by Yuan, who were both mentioned today, because isn't it? Because even if we think about Huizinga again, he also thought that games are the origin of all our culture, which means also that basically it is okay to, well, there's a common thing that maybe okay, for Huizinga it was that that the games are the origin of the culture, but when they are somehow bound to the everyday activities, then we're losing this exact playful essence. But don't you think that it is almost the same thing that's almost everywhere in our world? For example, I don't know, for example, I studied philosophy in my university, and before I became a teacher of philosophy who was working in the university and so on, I experienced philosophy as some activity that is worth doing it for its own, and it was very playful for me. It was very interesting, and now I'm working just for the salary and so on, and I don't know whether it is the same or not. Yeah, I would say that between those two activities there are some sets of differences and of similarities, but I couldn't say for sure that what I did for free was philosophy and that what I am doing for money is not philosophy. So I would rather think of different sets of similarities between activities when they are doing for free and when they are doing for money, when they are made, when they are conducted for money. Yeah, so it's not so clear. We cannot find this clear and distinct boundary where we can discern between play when it is still play and nothing more, and when it is not play and just labor, but not play itself. Yeah. So how would you react to it? It's not quite a question. So the question is, if I would try to sum up, the question is, how do you think, is it so important to find this clear-cut boundary between 1 and 2? Maybe we can talk rather about the mixes between the complex sets of differences and similarities between activities. So that's it.
Mm-hmm. I guess it's probably not a divide, but a gradation, because for example, if I will be making my own game, if I want to earn some money on that, I would put into account how to monetize it. So the scale of this monetization in this game probably will be the divide between the game for the game or the game to earn more money from the players. So so I'm not sure that this is a good example, but if we look on the play to earn games, I'm not against the play to earn games, but maybe it's not the games in their classic definition, because from this approach we can call the crypto trading a game, because it can be fun, it can be you can be in the flow, you can meet some obstacles which you can overcome or you can lose, and so this also can be the game, but our money is are dependent on how good at this trading we are. So probably this play to earn games is something similar, because if we enter this game to earn, we focus on this game as a financial tool, because we don't need the game to be like to be much enjoyable or have a rich narrative and so on, because first of all we need to be able to earn in this game. And if we enter this game just to play the game and maybe earn something on the process, probably that will be the game to play for us. So we will care about the narrative and how fun is the game. And this earning part will be just a bonus to us. So maybe it's not the divide between the game types, but the players' approach to games. Maybe it's that. I'm not sure if that answers your question.
Yeah, I think partially answers the questions. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I think it's quite understandable. It's quite clear. I'm sorry, Nikita, you wanted to ask a question as well.
Yeah, thank you. I wanted to make an argument actually towards thinking about play to earn games as games. I remembered Jesper Juul's classical game model, where he summarizes different definitions, Huizinga's, Kaila, Zimmermans, and others. And according to his classical game model, play to earn games are games in a classical sense because they have rules, they have got quantifiable outcomes, they require effort, and it has optional real consequences. And Juul states that he argues games can have real consequences and they can don't have real consequences. And the point is consequences should be discussed between players, or they should be determined by rules. And we see in gambling, real consequences are there, and they're determined by rules. And then I think in play to earn games, it is the same thing. The earnings are determined by rules, and it should not be considered as counter-arguments towards thinking about play to earn games as games. It's more Kaila's point of view.
Yeah, that's Alesha, as I remember, also mentioned it when Alesha said that according to Kaila, e-sportsmen are still playing as well. Alesha, yes.
Yeah, I can join this conversation, and it's a really great example. Your scheme is a really great example here. However, I've never seen a crypto game that operates according to the proclaimed rules. In most cases, there are the rules for the suckers who come invest their money, and yes. That's how it works. And there is a different set of rules for the core players who capitalize on these new players who enter, invest their money and lose their money. So it is like gambling, but it is more like an MLM. But I love the comparison to gambling. It's an interesting way to look at it. But yeah, there's this problem that there are no rules. Like the rules are different for those who enter the game at different points of time. Actually, as we've heard today, it's also a great example that if you have entered the game at the beginning, you have absolutely different chances than compared to if you joined in a year. So the rules will be different for you, and they will be negotiated in a way that is not good for you as a new player.
I would like to add that it's interesting because your argument, Orsett and Kaila used to criticize the classical model of Juul itself, because they point out there are games that have got different sets of rules. For example, in Grand Theft Auto, there are numerous games actually, and with play-to-earn games, you say there is actually a number of games for newcomers and for old gamers. That's interesting.
Yeah. So, yes, and actually I remember that what my initial argument was not more about philosophy that I was doing, but more about, for example, literature and more about, I mean, writing literature. A writer, if she writes for earning money, is she still a writer? Yeah, I think we could compare these arguments about games. Are we playing games if we are still, if we are earning money, or is not the game? Yeah, I think the problem is that because if we, I don't know why exactly it makes us feel uneasy when we're making the same thing with games. What's wrong about earning money, for example, for writing your novels? Yeah, you could do it without money. Yeah, you could be just I don't know, a writer who doesn't want to be paid for it. I don't know. I cannot find a good example. But when anyway, when you start making your way as doing your way as a writer, I think you quite often don't have the spirit when you really have book royalties and so on. Yeah, and we don't think that when writer starts earning money, she loses some essence of writing in it. But when we are talking about games, it's we somehow feel uneasy about it. And what I'm thinking is maybe about, it's also close to what we with Alesha was talking about. Maybe it is now still makes us feel uneasy because games are only now being, so to say, included into the cultural sphere of everybody, so to say, into the they are becoming to be how to say it? I'm sorry, forgot the word.
Maybe
well,
could
anyway.
I just?
Well,
I
anyway.
just wanted to add a bit. So I actually felt that when I started doing photography, because I could do it for money, I actually did it for money now and then. But as for me personally, it was like, it suggested different creative choices, different decisions, and I was really uncomfortable doing like I felt really uncomfortable, like feeling the need to train, to shoot weddings, and I would not even want to be at any wedding of other people, even though I ended up shooting a couple of weddings, yes. So for me, it was the choice that I don't want to do it for money because it will imply different creative decisions on me, and I don't want to make these decisions.
Yeah, of course, that's clear. I mean, but still, it is strange that we would not say that. Of course, we still would say that the photographer who makes photos for money is still a photographer. But when we are saying that a player who plays for money is not a player, why? What actually lies there in the fundament of this argument? I don't understand exactly, and maybe the fact why it is so is that is in these stereotypes about games that we were talking about, because they were excluded from the high culture and so on. And now when games are somehow starting being becoming more well, I just want to find the word, and the problem is that I don't remember it exactly in English and both in Russian. Yeah, I think it's too late and I want to sleep. But yeah, when they getting out of this cultural abyss, so to say, from the cultural prison, so to say, from the when they gain their
the capital,
their status and more capital, stigma. No, I just well, anyway, yeah, when they lose their stigma, yeah, I think I could express it this way. Yeah, when they lose their stigma, maybe they it is we are now having these practices when we are paid for playing, but somehow we still have this uneasiness when we are paid for playing. Yeah, so maybe this is just the beginning of some new process, so to say. Yeah.
If I may, just one short remark. At least in what I see, there is this very important difference between games of skill and games of chance, where games of skills like playing a game of skill is more likely to be considered a real job. But also playing a game of chance, professional gamblers, many ways to go here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Roman.
I would also like to add something. Actually, I was thinking that, for example, we don't get paid for reading some artistic literature, or to go to the gallery and explore some art pieces. And what if we get paid to do so? And for example, we are reading War and Peace, and to get paid, we just needed like this and that page, see these sentences, and for example, I don't know, pick the sentence from that page and do this and do that. And probably we would just jump to these pages, skip everything else, and do what we need to get paid. So maybe with the games that you play to earn is the same thing. We don't enjoy the games to that extent. We want to get paid. If this our if this our need in the first place, if we go to this game firstly to earn something, then probably we don't, or at least we can't experience it as a game, because we will jump to the needed page to get earned, to get something, some money, and so on.
Mm-hmm.
May I jump in this argument? Because actually I think it's really, really interesting. But I think the argument about, well, a player who's been paid and a reader who's been paid, well, in a way is different, because, well, there are actually readers who are being paid for reading. They're called philologists and teachers of literature, because this is their job. And when a player starts to get paid, well, it actually, playing turns to be a job now. E-sportsman, one example. This play to earn is another example. And actually, I do think it seems to be a Ponzi scheme for me. I don't sure that I believe in the reality of this and in the future of this. And also some online game farmers who farm characters or farm, I don't know, some equipment, in-game equipment. Those are jobs, actually. So those are professional players, not just players in our usual understanding, I think. And with game developers being paid for what they do, there is nothing wrong with that, because there is nothing wrong with a writer being paid for writing books, because this is their job.
Yeah, so yeah, thank you.
Interesting.
Yeah, that's an interesting argument. Yeah, the main topic is that we need to insert anyway a job to feel that it is okay to be paid. Yeah, just according to our Protestant ethics and so on. Yeah.
Well, it seems to be so. Yeah.
Yeah. Great. Well, I'm sorry that actually we already ran out of time. Yeah, because we had only 2 hours and now we've been talking for 2 hours and 10 minutes. So anyway, thank you all very much for this extremely interesting discussion. Yeah, thank you, Alesha, and thank you, Ksenia. That was really an interesting one. I think that was the first seminar, the first meeting in our seminar when I was talking by my own so much, because it really interested me a lot. And yeah, by the way, I finally recalled what word I was looking for: emancipation. I was talking about the emancipation of games in the cultural field. Yeah, so I lost both in Russian and in English. So I'm sorry. I think I'm extremely tired already. And so thank you. Anyway, yeah, let's see you in 2 weeks. Thank you again. And in 2 weeks, on the 7th of February, as I remember, it must be a talk by Alexander Vitushinsky, who is not here right now, but I hope he will be there. And we will give his talk on gamification and something else. So thank you very much. Thank you, Alesha. Ksenia, goodbye then. Bye anyway.
Thank you.
Thank you, and hope to see you again.
Yeah, me too. Bye.
Yes, thank you. Bye-bye.